Hey guys, I've recently gone down a rabbit hole and decided to make a video about it. Hopefully I'm not the only one that has some of these questions, and if you do, throw me some comments so that I can maybe get some of your questions answered if I don't already answer them. But I kind of had some thoughts on thermal paste. When I typically do a build for myself, I use this. This is MX-4. I buy this 45-gram tube for 20 bucks on Amazon. It's always worked just fine. Now granted, I do know that Arctic makes several thermal pastes. I have MX-6. I just don't have a big tube of it. I also have like the large tube of the Noctua NTH2. But I typically only use this on Noctua coolers, the air coolers obviously, just because I figure that their testing, they would be using this on their own coolers, and it's probably geared for their setups better. That being said, I also have, 20 or 30 of these little tubes sitting around in all different varieties and flavors and spices and whatever. I've got Thermalright TF7, Thermalright TF4, I've got MX6, MX4, I've got no names, I got tubes that aren't even labeled that come in certain devices. And I wonder, does it really make a difference? Because when I do builds typically for people, most people usually don't care. They don't even realize that thermal paste is a thing, but occasionally someone will say, I want PTM 750, or I want Thermal Grizzly Kryonaut Extreme, or I want the Thermal Grizzly phase sheet. And I'll do it. Now granted, when I build a computer for somebody, I don't even figure the cost of the thermal paste unless they want something that costs $20. Now granted, these phase sheets are $15 on Amazon, and they're about $1 cheaper at Micro Center. I always keep a couple. I've never put one on my own system. I've never even tested it. And I also use the Thermal Grizzly Kryonaut Extreme almost as much as I use the cheap stuff, so I wound up buying the $100 33 or 34 gram container because it's the only way that kind of brings it down into the correct price spectrum. But if I have someone that requests Kryonaut Extreme, I throw an extra 20 bucks on the cost of their PC. If they want a PTM phase sheet, I throw $15 extra on the cost of their PC. I'm not making money off of it. I'm just, if they want something specific like that, then they'll have to pay for the upgrade. Whereas a dose of MX-4 doesn't cost me $1. So therefore, I don't have to figure the math. That being said, I wanted to do a test. I wanted to do a test of one that I use all the time and one that I get asked for all the time. So in the coming test I'm about to show you, I've done a 10-minute Cinebench run, multi-core, but at the same time I kick off Furmark for the entire length of the Cinebench run. So it's 100% on the CPU, 100% on the GPU. And I also have a decibel meter running to see if there's a noticeable difference in the volume of these tests. It's the same system, okay? That system is my, I don't know what you want to call it. It's a computer I use for editing and editing alone. I don't have any games or anything on it. I like to have at least 2 computers that I can edit with. That way, if something happens to one, if I have a great idea, I can make a video and still edit and move forward. And that means that all of my computers can edit. But this computer is in the black Lee & Lee 011D Vision 2 Mini, whatever, you'll see it. It has a Asus Strix ROG X870E-E motherboard, the first generation, not the USB-C generation. I know there's a second generation. I haven't played with that yet. It has a Ryzen 9 9950X3D, because once again, this is a productivity computer. It's not a video game computer. And I have a Asus Prime overclocked, factory overclock, 5080. It's just a nice small card. And then all of the fans in this system are NF-A12 by 25 Noctua fans. 1, 2, 3, what we got? We have 6 of them are the second generation, 3 of them are the first generation. Did I say that right? Yeah. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 G2s, 3 G1s. So there is a total of 9 total Noctua fans, 9950 X3D, 5080 overclocked Prime card, in a aesthetic but smallish case. So the only other heat producer in this case would be the Samsung 9100 Pro. I have a 2 terabyte in there. And during a render, it is moving a lot, pulling back and forth from that primary M.2. So that does create a heat, and it's enough that it is something that people should think about. Most of the time in a normal PC build for a game or something like that, I just leave whatever thermal pad that came with the motherboard. But in my primary editing PC and this little Lian Li PC, I use the thermal Grizzly thermal pads. I don't know if they make a difference either. I just, you want to do, what you can. So anyway, this video is, like I said, 10-minute Cinebench 24, I believe, render tests, consecutive with or simultaneous with the Furmark for the entire length of the test. I do have a systems monitor, so you can see that in the video showing the temps of the CPU, GPU, their speeds, and so on and so forth. I know that if you look in some of the video, you'll see that the AIO on the CPU on this is a NZXT. It's the Kraken Elite 2024 edition, the more recent one, but still it's running the Noctua fans. The readings on that AIO seem to be different than the readings that I am getting from the Thermalright Trofeo systems monitor. That being said, to the best of my knowledge, the Thermalright is correct. I've gone in, I've looked at the plethora of sensors, and I'm looking at the sensor that I believe to be the CPU temp and not the hotspot temp, so on and so forth. Anyway, I'm going to start the video and then I'll get back to you with the results. So here we go. And just like that, we're back. Yes, I sped it up. I didn't want anyone to sit through an 11-minute test and stare at a screen, bounce around. It's sped up, but you can still see throughout the test that the difference in the two thermal pastes on the same computer, not a light computer, but it's the same computer. The difference is within a few degrees. The total times taken. I figured if one of them ran substantially cooler, and by substantially I mean 2 or 3 degrees, not a ton, but I thought it might finish a little bit earlier and it might be noticeable. But the Arctic MX-4 finished the test in 10 minutes 54 seconds. The Kryonaut Extreme finished the 10-minute render in 11 minutes and 2 seconds, so a difference of 8 seconds. That's margin of error. So at least in this setup, I'm not complaining at all. I think that's really, to me, it's pretty cool. That the thermal paste didn't make that big of a difference over only a 10-minute render. Now granted, some of these large videos where you have tons and tons of layering going on with different video sources and different audio sources, and you're adding in tiles and stuff, those renders could be substantially longer, especially if you're in 4K, 8K, whatever. What other differences? Appreciable sound difference? Not really in this test. They pretty much ran toe to toe, same sound. They ran within 3 or 4 degrees of each other the entire time. They finished basically in the same time. So in this instance, was there a difference? I'm gonna say no, not in this instance. I will revisit this test. I'm going to run with this computer for a couple of weeks to give it some time, because literally these tests were run immediately after the thermal paste was installed. Given enough, thermal cycles, it might change the results. That being said, that I do know that PTM 750 and these face sheets have to be burn in, is what they call it. And I really want to get to this to kind of wrap up this video, but that is going to be a second video. I will come back to it. I'll tell you. Remember, these are the original results, and now with a phase sheet that's been running the system, thermal cycled, will there be another difference? We shall see. But as for Kryonaut Extreme and Arctic MX-4 in a 9950X 3D 5080 setup, when it comes to rendering, not enough of a difference for me to want to pay the difference in the thermal paste costs. Would I still use Thermal Grizzly? Sure. I'm not going to buy the little tubes anymore. Even though it's $100 sounds like a lot, it's way cheaper when you buy the big tube and then spread it out over, even if you use 1 gram, it's $3 a dose versus having to buy a $20 tube, and then who knows how many usage you get out of it. But that's it for now. If you have questions, comments, concerns, throw them in the comments. Appreciate you watching the video. I think I'm going to like one. This one's a little bit different than my normal video, but it's something that I was interested in, and I couldn't find straightforward reviews on a actual system, not a bench system, so that people can, make up their own mind. That's all. Have a good one. Later.